Hello everyone. For the new unit today, we are going to talk about food. Let me show you the outline for the lecture. In the beginning, we will do some brainstorming to learn different ways to describe food. Before listening to my lecture, think about how big is your vocabulary capacity for food. In other words, how many words do you know to describe different tastes of food? At the same time, I will also recommend you some TV programs about food just for fun. Then we will move on to our new article, World Food Blog, Could the Best Street Food Be Filipino? We are going to learn a lot more about Filipino food. At the same time, I will introduce a new reading strategy called Intelligent Prediction. Then we will do some practice. In the second half of the lecture today, we will talk about future tenses. From your education before college, you should know we usually use be going to and will to make sentences in future tense. But do you know how to use it properly for different situations? We will figure that out in our lesson today. And finally, I'm going to review the basic principles in writing and give you more tips to help you write better. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so could everyone take out your textbook Perspective 2 and turn to page 45? We are going to do activity 1 together. So in activity 1, you see 12 phrases. Each phrase has a word in boldface, and I believe you should know most of them. Okay, so let's start from the first one. The first one is delicious, but it's really common. Instead of delicious, why don't you say these words in the future? Delectable, heavenly, and mouth-watering. These are all more vivid adjectives to help make your point better, to describe your points better. And if you take a look at the image on the upper left, this is of course an image that shows you unhealthy food. And then at the bottom, you see candy, hamburgers, popcorn, donuts. These are called junk food. Okay, junk food. And then if you take a look at the bottom right, you will see a lot of insects in the bowl, right? This is probably a delicacy from Southeast Asia, but for people from other continents, it might be viewed as disgusting. Okay? So I believe you all know unhealthy, junk food, and disgusting. I would like you to pick up 3 words to replace delicious: delectable, heavenly, and mouth-watering. Okay? Okay, let's move on to go over the other words in activity 1. If you see a lot of food put in can and you buy them from the supermarket, these are called processed food. Okay, processed food. And then on the right, now we all need to boost our immune system, right? So it becomes even more important for us to take vitamins, okay, to take vitamins. Some people in the United Kingdom might say vitamin. So vitamin, both are acceptable. If you take a look at the bottom left, this is raw food. Raw. Raw, what does it mean? It means uncooked. And in fact, a very popular Michelin restaurant in Taipei is also called Raw. And on the right, you see fast food. Some examples of fast food are McDonald's, Mos Burger, Burger King, Kentucky Chicken. They are all examples of fast food. Alright, let's move on. So here is a definition of processed food. Any deliberate change in the food that occurs before it's available for us to eat. So what are the changes the manufacturer makes, like freezing or drying food? Okay, so this is a definition for processed food for your reference. Okay, so you see a plate being put into different portions, right? So this is, of course, a well-balanced diet. And then on the right, you see vegetarian. This is going to be a key word for our unit because the TED Talk is about vegetarian. And you see a lot of buns being put in this container, right? This kind of cooking is called steamed, okay? And finally, this kind of plant is called wheat. In fact, beers are made of wheat, okay? And here is more information. Do you know the difference between vegans and vegetarians? Vegans eat no animal products. In other words, they don't even drink milk or eat eggs. On the other hand, vegetarians do not eat animals, but may eat products that come from them. So they do drink milk, they do eat yogurt, and they also eat eggs. Some of the vegans in the United States are quite extreme. They also do not want to eat any plants that comes from a tree, because when you pick up the fruit, you hurt the plant, and they also think that is violent. So that's a bit extreme, but people still practice that kind of veganism, just for your information. Okay, so these are the words from activity 1. Okay, so some unfamiliar ones might be raw. Raw means uncooked. And I also want you to pick up 3 words to replace delicious. What are they? Delectable, mouth-watering, heavenly. Okay, so let's move on. Could you go to activity 2? This is just a review of the words that we finished in activity 1. So telling the opposite. What is the opposite of natural? Of course, processed. What is the opposite of fried? Steamed. A meat eater. Then we need to come up with a word that means eating vegetables only. So, of course, vegetarian. Delicious, disgusting. Cooked, uncooked is one of the answers. But an even better answer is raw. Okay? So these are the opposites to these 5 words. Okay, to these 5 words. Okay, so nowadays people talk about food all the time. And when we talk about whole food, what do we mean? We mean they are fresh and natural, and they are real, and they are local. Take our country as an example. Food from Taiwan can be also called whole food. And seasonal food. Seasonal food means this food grows in the seasons, okay? And using traditional ways to cook. And they are balanced, appropriate, and enough. So these are the criteria, okay? These are the criteria to define whole food. Okay, this is just for your reference. On the right, you see 3 images. Okay, these 3 images, okay, show you 3 different TV programs. On the left, this is called Nail It, and the host is Nicole Byer. This show invites people who are interested in making desserts, but they are extremely bad at it. So the point of this show is to see who makes the most ridiculous looking dessert or the most disgusting dessert. So this is just cooking for fun. On the right hand side, this is another show on Netflix called The Special Leftover. Okay, so they invite people who can really cook to deal with leftover in the refrigerator and put them together into new dishes. Okay, so these 2 TV programs are both interesting. And the last one is the classic Japanese cartoon called 中华一番. This show is famous for its dramatic description of people eating different food. If you are interested, you can look for clips on YouTube. Okay, so if you have time, tune in Netflix to watch Nail It and the special leftover and watch 中华一番 on YouTube for fun. Okay, so that's it for the warm up today. We have learned different ways to describe food so far. Another part of the warm up is a very trendy word. This is a new adjective, okay? Now people all take pictures before they eat, so that we need new adjective to describe the food we eat. And here we go. We have this word, Instagrammable. So this is already inducted into the dictionary, so you are free to use it in your conversations or in writing. So what does it mean? It means attractive or interesting enough to be suitable for photographing and posting on the social media service Instagram. Okay, so if you go online to look for Instagrammable restaurants, you might come across another adjective called Insta-worthy, meaning if you go there, you will get some good shots for you to put on your Instagram and you will get a lot of likes. Okay, so that's it for the review. This is a new adjective for your reference, Instagrammable. Okay, Instagrammable. For the TV programs I introduced, and also this block here's to the Insta-worthy, where to eat, play, and stay. I will provide their links on Tron Class for your reference. Okay, now could you please turn your book to page 48 and 49. Okay, so 48 and 49. Today I am going to introduce a new reading strategy called intelligent prediction. But before we do that, let's review the most common strategy we use, which is skimming. When we skim the introduction to identify the background problem of the topic and the argument of the author. And we also look at the topic sentences in the body paragraphs so that we know what the main ideas are. Okay, so what do we do? Okay, about intelligent prediction. When we do intelligent prediction, or I should say when we make intelligent prediction, we look at the title of the article and we pay attention to noun, adjective, and verbs. And sometimes if you have some common sense in etymology, that will also be helpful. So etymology means the studies of words. You know prefixes, suffixes, roots. Okay, if you know a bit, it will help you make better predictions. So let's practice. Could everyone take a look at the title of the article? World Food Blog. Could the best street food in the world be Filipino? Okay, so pay attention to the noun, verbs, and adjectives. And I would like you to look at the chart here. We have 9 words. I would like you to rule out the words that are irrelevant to the article based on your prediction from the title. Okay, so let's check. Is it about culture? Yes, this is about food, right? And also about a country. Then of course this is about culture. Danger? Are we doing anything dangerous here? No, this is not, okay, relevant. The Philippines, you see the adjective Filipino, then of course this is relevant. Thailand, of course not, okay, because we're talking about the Philippines. Taste, yes, we have the noun food here, right? So this is relevant. Police, no, we're not talking about any protests or any crimes. So police should be ruled out. Animals, probably because we're talking about food. Some food is from animals. So yes. Michelin star, not really, because you see street food. So for this article, we're not talking about high-end restaurant. We're talking about more accessible forms of dieting. Ingredients, probably because we need different things to put together different dishes. Okay, so this is a way, okay, to make prediction about an article before you read it. Okay, so now let's get started. So now we make some predictions. You have a sense of what this article is about. So let me read for you. Walk down the street in most big cities and you will find a Middle Eastern grill selling kebabs and falafel. Without a doubt, you'll also find a restaurant selling burgers or Mexican tacos. If you look for spicy food, there's a good chance you'll find Indian or Thai food. You might even find Vietnamese curry for takeout. But you probably won't find food from the Philippines. That's strange because Filipinos make the best street food in the world. So from the introduction, you can see in the first 2 or 3 lines, you see food, okay, street food from most big cities, such as Middle Eastern grill selling kebabs, or a restaurant selling burgers or Mexican tacos, or you will find Indian or Thai food. So these are major street food around the world. And whenever we want to identify the problem in the introduction, you need to identify where the transition is, right? So you do see in line 7, but. So after but, you see no food from the Philippines. So it's strange that people don't talk about street food from the Philippines. And what does the author want to say in this article? He wants to prove that Filipinos makes the best street food in the world. Okay, so this is the point. So let's read on. One reason Filipino food is so good is that there's so much variety. You only have to look at the country's rich history to see why. The Philippines have been influenced by Chinese, Malay, Arab, and Spanish culture, to name a few. Filipinos took these influences and mixed them in their own way. A popular street breakfast illustrates this very well. Take some Chinese rice porridge, mix in some chocolate. The Spanish introduced cocoa to the island. Then add some 100% Filipino salted fish. That's champurrado with tuyo, and it will wake you up. So Filipino food is a wonderful mix of many countries' ingredients and styles. Okay, so from the first body paragraph, we can tell from the topic sentence, one reason Filipino food is so good is that there's so much variety. So variety is the focus here. So how does the author highlight the variety in Filipino food? We have some examples, right? An example that shows different influences. So the example here is champurrado with tuyo. So what are the influences we can see in this dish? You can see Chinese rice porridge. So if you take a look at the bottom right of your article, you will see porridge refers to a salt food made with water or milk and grain, usually rice, eaten hot for breakfast. So this is the Chinese influence. And then Filipino mix in some chocolate. This is the Spanish influence. And then what is the local addition? Salted fish, which is called tuyo. So this is a porridge with chocolate and salted fish. Okay, so let's keep reading. Now we know Filipinos' food features variety. What else then? You'll recognize many dishes for this reason. Lumpia, for example, are delicious spring rolls, very similar to the ones on the Chinese menu. However, there are a few characteristics of Filipino cuisine that make it unique. Seafood is everywhere in this nation of 7,000 islands. Yukoi is a popular prawn dish. The prawns are mixed with vegetables and egg and flour, fried until they are golden, and served with spicy vinegar. You may discover that the food isn't as hot as in countries like Thailand, but it has flavorful dishes with many great tasting ingredients in each bite. The best known dessert of the island is halu halu. It contains cooked bananas, sweet beans, coconut, fruit, sweetened milk, sugar, and ice, a milkshake like no other. So the second body paragraph also illustrates the variety in Filipino cuisine, and we see more examples. For example, lumpia is also of the Chinese influence, a dish that is similar to the spring roll in Chinese cuisine. And yukoi, okay, what is yukoi? Yukoi is a popular prawn dish. Okay, so prawn means shrimp, okay, as you can see at the bottom right of your article. So you also see halu halu, a cuisine very similar to Thailand, but here it is more flavorful with many different interesting cuisine in each bite. I will show you the images, okay, for the cuisine we have introduced so far. So this is champurrado with tuyo. You see porridge in white and chocolate and then salted fish. So Filipino eat this for breakfast. Would you like to give it a try? And this is yukoi. So this is prawn, okay? And lumpia, similar to our spring roll. And halu halu, very similar to the ice shave in Yongkang Street, or similar to the milkshake like we see in other countries. Okay, so these images should help you visualize the dishes even better. Now let's keep reading. So you will find the best Adidas. So Adidas means grilled chicken feet in Manila, in a food stall called Mango's Grill. Filipinos don't let anything go to waste and make the most delicious snacks out of every part of the animal. And mounds, for example. So the grill's name should be Mound, not Mangoes. Okay, that was my mistake. You can also get grilled chicken head and chicken intestine. So what is intestine? Intestine means the part of an animal that process and digest food. Asian people eat intestine of animals. Westerners, they don't. Okay, and in many parts of the world, street food started as food for people who weren't wealthy enough to have their own kitchens. And here in the Philippines, they do it best. So this is just a video of a girl making champurrado. Okay, I will offer the link to you on Tron class. Now let's take a look at the outline of the paragraph I just read. So we talk about the grill, okay, and the reason why we talk about this grill is to show us that Filipino, they don't waste any part of the food. They use every part. And why do they do it? Because in the past, it is usually poor people who eat street food. So they want to save money, then of course they need to use every single part. Okay, let's go to the conclusion. So why has the world not discovered Filipino street cuisine? Perhaps it's because some of its tastiest dishes are very unusual. So you have to be open to trying new things. But adventurous young people are exploring world food more than ever. So this is going to change. And in a few years, we'll all be eating Filipino food. For now, though, the best place to experience it is still on the street of Manila. Okay, so the conclusion shows us that, we do have a lot of unusual tasty dishes in the Philippines, and now the trend is more and more young people are willing to give them a try. And the author also ends with a positive note that encourages everyone to try different street food. Okay, so that's it for the reading. Now let's do some practice on vocabulary and also comprehension. So could you take a look at activity 6 on page 49? So match the dish 1 to 5 with the idea that illustrates, okay? That it illustrates. So do that. Okay, I assume you just did it. So let's go over the answer. So the first one, Filipino food often puts many flavors together. So which dish is an example of putting many flavors together? So it should be 4, right? Halu, halo. For each bite, you have different ingredients. Very flavorful. B, some dishes are similar to dishes from other countries. So in which dish can we see influences from other countries? 2, lumpia, right? Similar to the spring roll. C, the cuisine shows the simple origin of street food. Okay, so this should be Adidas because you see the street vendor using every single part of an animal. For example, intestines. And it also shows us the origin is from poor people in the Philippines. D, a lot of Filipino food uses local ingredients like seafood. So the only seafood here on the list is Yukoi, prawn. Finally, the food shows the multicultural past of the country. So of course, champurrado, Chinese influence, Spanish influence, and its local influence. Okay, so now please go to activity 1. This is a quick review on compound adjectives. So if you take a look at the box here, it says compound adjectives are formed with 2 words. They often have a hyphen. Many compound adjectives are formed from the past or present participle of verbs. So this is exactly what we just worked on in the previous unit. So if you still remember the principles, it is exactly the same here. So let me use 2 example sentences to explain what compound adjectives are. So if you take a look at the first sentence, the food has been baked in the oven. Okay, so I will correct the spelling mistakes here. So the food cannot cook itself. It is cooked by people. So when you want to describe it is baked in the oven, you should use the past participle to show this is done passively. Okay, so oven baked. On the other hand, the lemon tastes great. So lemons naturally has taste. The sourness is natural. So this is active. You need to use the present participle. Great tasting. Okay? So please use this principle to finish the practice in activity 2. Okay? In activity 1. Okay, you see 5 sentences here. So let's go over them. I fry the chicken in deep oil. So chicken cannot fry itself. So you use the past participle, deep fried. The salad looks good. So the colors are all natural. We don't color the salad, right? So it's active. You will use the present participle, good looking. Number 3, what's the ingredient that tastes sweet? So the ingredient naturally have taste. So this is active. Again, we use the present participle, sweet tasting. Number 4, the tomatoes are filled with rice. So usually we don't see rice in the tomatoes. People fill rice into the tomato. So this is passive. So you will use the past participle, rice filled. And then I don't think they've cooked this chicken enough. It's what chicken? So chickens don't cook themselves, so it's cooked by people. So it's passive. You will use the past participle, okay, undercook. So you can see the principles here is exactly the same as the same principles we introduced in the previous unit. Okay, so that's it for the reading.